Hello, everyone. FreightCaviar here with Jason Bauch, the founder and CEO of BrokerzEdge and 360 Freight Solutions. Hey, Jason.
Hey, Paul. How are we doing today?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I really want to thank you for having me on your show. The FreightCaviar thing is a very interesting concept. When you and I talked about it, I got really excited about doing this with you. So anything I can do to help you, please let me know, all right?
Thanks, Jason. I appreciate that. Where are you right now? Just so everyone knows.
I'm actually sitting in my house in Dallas, Texas.
Perfect. Awesome. How's the weather out there in Dallas?
As to be expected in August, it is hot.
Okay.
We talked about doing a pool day this weekend, and I was like, I don't know. We'll see. It's a nice idea until you get out there, and they're like, man, it sucks outside. We're going back in. But
for sure. Okay.
And you said you're in Chicago now?
No, I'm going to be in Chicago on Thursday. I'm actually in Poland right now. It's about probably 60 degrees and rainy outside, so it's nice and chilly.
Nice.
Yeah, it's really, really, really nice. Well, first of all, everyone from FreightCaviar, this podcast today is brought to you by BrokerzEdge. BrokerzEdge is dedicated to teaching you the ins and outs of being a freight broker while unlocking your potential and being a key component in the logistics industry. Jason here is also the founder and CEO of 360 Freight Solutions. So he's the owner of a freight brokerage, and he's also the founder and CEO of a company that teaches others how to be a freight broker. Very interesting topics today to be talked with Jason. Jason has plenty of experience in the transportation industry. So I first want to ask Jason, you opened this brokerage last year. Was this before or after the pandemic began?
We opened it March 25th.
Oh, okay.
Right on the heels of it. Yeah. Yeah, it
Wow.
was a concept that my partner and I had came up with prior to, and it kind of just coincided with everything. It was interesting how it all fell together. And he goes, "Well, what do you want to do?" I said, "Let's move forward. Forget about it. It'll be fine. Let's just do it, and we'll figure it out. We're good at this." And it's been really a good ride. The incorporation actually started on March 25th. And we were an active company, but we didn't really do anything with the company until about the middle of February this year.
Okay.
As with anything, you're doing a lot of setup and a lot of positioning. And we had current businesses that we were running, so we needed to position all the companies correctly for the transition into 360 Freight Solutions. So,
okay. So you're saying that you opened it last year in March, but you just began in February this year, like in terms of actually like moving freight?
Correct. Yeah. Well, what was happening was I was already a president of a company, of a previous company. My partner and I were doing some different things. And when I opened the freight school, he says, Jason, you're building this monster idea. I love what you're doing, but I want to have a small family company. So why don't we do this? Let's divide everything up. You take what you're doing and move it over to 360 Freight Solutions. And I'm going to keep what I've got going on here. And, we stay friends, everything's cool, and that's really how it worked out. And it was a great deal. I mean, it worked out perfectly. I couldn't have been happier with the deal. He and I are still really good friends to this day. And, we talk about getting together and for lunch and all kinds of stuff. I mean, it's been a fantastic ride so far. And, my new partner, Brian, he knew of, Brian from previous engagements and stuff. And he goes, dude, I couldn't imagine you with a better partner, man. It's perfect. He's so happy for us. And it really is powerful when you have people that are, proud of what you've created with them, but also know that, it's not a good fit anymore. And it's time to move on and build bigger things. So that's what we've chosen to do. And, he focuses more on his asset side of things, and we're focusing more on the logistics end of the company right now.
Okay. And what made you decide to open your own brokerage?
Well, this has been a thing my wife's been encouraging me to do for about 10 years.
Okay.
After years of working for other people and doing different things, she just kept saying, Jason, just do it. Just do it. Just do it. Just move forward enough, She goes, you're working with other people. They're disappointing you. They're not holding up their end of the deal. It's time to really just take charge of this whole thing. And so that's what we did. And, I'm proud to say she's also part of the company as well. She manages the human resource component of 360 Freight Solutions. So she's in charge of the agent acquisition and, any of the ancillary people that come along to help us with accounting and whatnot.
Sure. Very, very cool. So since you've opened your business, what are some takeaways you have? Has it been easy for you, or I'm guessing there's a lot of ups and downs?
Yeah, well, and Paul, like any business, I mean, there's always ups and downs and peaks and valleys, but there's the things you can't actually perceive coming at you. You know, for example, we ran into a problem early on with a potential. We ran into a problem early on with a agent that I thought was going to do something different than she did, and she decided to do some different stuff and just leave the company, which was hard for me to watch, but at the same time, I knew that she was doing the things that she needed to do and that were right for her. So, you know, you think you have key components in place and you've got that inner circle kind of built for your company. And sometimes people just decide they want to do different things. So that was a little bit of a curveball early on in the beginning, but since that time, we've managed to navigate all the waters that, you know, we could come and get contact with. I mean, we ran into a claim early on, but we've got that figured out. You know, it just silly little things that come up, you know, and you just take them on and move forward. I mean, that's all you can do, you know?
Definitely. So what is the most challenging part of having your brokerage? I know there's claims and issues with payments and stuff. Overall, what's like the most challenging part?
Well, really, I mean, for me, I'm transitioning from being an actual day-to-day operator where I'm covering loads and doing all these things to being the actual person who runs the company. So I'm having to change hats and do some different things. So I've had to hand hats off to other people, and a lot of the day-to-day operational stuff that I used to do just isn't on my plate anymore. So getting away from some of that is kind of weird for me, because it's like for so many years I've wake up in the morning, I check my emails. I have this routine where, you know, I'm doing all these different things, and I'm making sure that the loads are covered, you know, checking off customers, make my sales calls, and you've got this cycle that you're doing, right? You've been doing this for 10 years, and now your cycle is totally different. Now it's, you know, you wake up, you check your emails, you're making sure everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing, looking for any potential issues, you're checking off the list of things that you need to do for the company, and it's just I don't want to say it's a transition, but it's like a metamorphosis into the next thing. And I think that's really been the biggest challenge for me is figuring that out.
Okay. Yeah, it's definitely a big challenge. It's like growing pains. It's a good problem to have, but yeah, it's a problem. You know, everyone has to learn, and moving out of the day-to-day is definitely tough. So how were you able to get customers? Has it been easy for you? Are you a natural sales guy? What's your like go-to model for getting customers?
Well, Paul, to be honest with you, nobody's born a salesperson. We're all born babies. So, you know, I don't believe that there's a natural born anything. You know, there's certain things that we acquire easily or more easy than other people. And I think that's just based on experiences. And, you know, for me, I am always really big into networking. I want to make sure that I'm networking with everybody. And it drives, you know, for example, my wife crazy. So we'll meet somebody. She'll be like, "Oh, this is so-and-so. Great. Hey, how are you doing? Oh, nice to meet you. What do you do?" "Really? Oh, you're married? That's cool. What does your husband do?" And the questions are just natural to me. It drives her nuts, but she's like, "You're constantly data mining for that next client. You're constantly looking for that next edge." And that's really what we're trying to do, is find that next competitive edge. You know, who's the new company that's starting up, or somebody who's expanding into a market, somebody that is having problems with their current provider, you know? And you don't know these things until you ask the questions and just introduce yourself as to, this is who I am, this is what I do, and this is what I bring to the table.
Sure.
You know, for us specifically, I've like I said, I've been doing this for quite some time. I've actually been a broker since 2004. So, 17 years now, something like that.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's not easy. You know, I mean, I'd be lying to you if I said every day was easy. You know, we still go through the same types of things every day where we're trying to get new customers in. The markets are shifting. People are doing different things. You know, everybody's price driven, so that's always a concern. But, you know, really, we offer service. That's really the focus on our, you know, our spears. We try to drive home the service part of that, and, you know, let the rest of it kind of work itself out. So, as far as sales goes, it's like anything. It's exactly what you put into it. If you work at it and you constantly practice and you're drilling down, you're going to do a lot better than the person who just says, "I'll pick up the phone once in a while and do it."
Sure.
It's a skill that's acquired over time. So.
Okay. Do you use some CRM for it? Like, what is your process behind?
Yeah.
Okay. What's your go-to
Absolutely.
CRM?
Well, for years I used Outlook, actually. That was a real cheap way of doing it.
Definitely.
And I still I left it up. I've dumped all the data out of Outlook by now, but I still have it up there, and every once in a while something will just kind of pop up. They're like, "Hey, 89 weeks ago, you were supposed to talk to so-and-so," because it's been a while since I've used it. But, currently I use HubSpot, but truthfully, the best one is the one that you use. Anything that you're using is better than the one that you don't use. You got to be organized, you got to be accountable, and you got to build a habit. You got to build those calluses so that you're used to it. Every day you do the same things and you will get results.
Okay. Yeah, it's definitely very true. Jason, so you started a company that teaches others brokerage. I know it's going a little bit off topic. I'm wondering like how does that process look like? Can you explain like the what you offer to a potential client?
Sure. Yeah, our initial class is really more of a designed to be an all-around introductory class. It takes the person from this is a truck to watch your money, because you're going to make a lot of it. And it formulates the different structure from what we do, why we're doing it, how to do it, and then it just recycles itself because there's several different components to being a broker, right? I mean, we're selling to trucks, we're selling to customers, we're selling to each other. We've got to tell each other this is a great idea. This is why we're doing this. For example, if you had a customer who had 30 loads a day, Paul, the likelihood of you being able to cover 30 loads a day by yourself, day in and day out, 5 days a week, is kind of unlikely. You're going to need some help,
Definitely.
right? So you've got to recruit somebody. So you're selling to each other too, that this is a good idea. I'm going to share this with you. You're going to get a piece of this pie, and we're going to build this up.
Yeah.
So it takes you from beginning to that point where you could actually enter into a logistics company and have a pretty good idea what's going on. There's additional products that we offer more regarding towards sales and specifically to logistics itself. We're currently in the process of developing that piece of the puzzle. But when it's built out, the idea is that you're going to have a training regiment for sales offered towards the logistics-minded person.
Okay. So you're doing a lot of stuff. You got the brokerage, you're training people, which is great. It works all together. It synergizes really well. When you have all these components, I'm guessing you have a lot of stress, a lot of things in your mind all the time. What is your favorite part about being a business owner, and what is your least favorite part of being a business owner?
Honestly, the favorite part about being a business owner, Paul, is being able to do whatever the fuck I want.
I totally understand that.
Plainly said, man. I mean, that's the God's honest truth, dude. I start and stop when I want.
Sure.
The reality of it is that when you're an owner or when you have a business, you don't not have a boss anymore. You have a lot of bosses. The difference is that you have the freedom to manipulate the situation and move it around to your schedule. So if you decide that you want to do something very specific that day, you can block off that part of the day. I mean, there you are in Poland. We've talked about you covering loads, man. I mean, I've done it from Maui. I've done it from Florida. I've actually had times when I was standing in line at Disney World with my daughter for the Transformers ride, booking loads with CRST. True story.
Perfect. Yeah. No, it's amazing.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you. That's why I love logistics right now, especially with like the technology behind it. Like, it's so easy just to be on your phone, booking a load. It's nice and easy.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, and I mean, as far as the part that I don't like, there really isn't much I don't like about this business. I think it's important to remember that this is a marathon. You're not going to do it fast. You're strategically taking pieces and moving them around so that you're building a foundation that you can build off of and build your empire moving forward. And I think that if you slowly, methodically do it in the beginning, the pieces will come together much faster. I mean, and that's what you're witnessing right now is you've seen 17 years worth of work to get to this point.
Sure.
And so like what we've tried to do with the course is to condense a lot of that into a 22 lesson course and say, okay, these are the methods and ideas that you can use to build your own empire. Now, along with that course, we also have Zoom calls that we offer so that we're keeping engagement and we're answering questions and being able to bring the people back into it and make sure that they understand the actual intentions that we're trying to project to them, you know, and just be available, you know. I mean, so far, I've never seen a course that actually has anybody come back and go, hey, do you understand what you just read? You know, they just put out into the world. It's like, here you go, good luck.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that was something that we really felt was strong that we needed to bring to the market, was that we're keeping you engaged. We're there and available. You know, that transparency, I think, is really important.
Sure. And a lot of these courses are pretty old when you look at them, where they're old, they're not old, they're kind of cheap, made quickly. Yours is high quality, a lot of content, and you get the one-on-one, or you at least get the Zoom video, which is huge. I mean, being able to talk over some topics and utilizing that. Other courses don't offer that, so that's definitely a big plus. That's great.
Well, and that's also what allows us to stay current, you know, because things are changing rapidly. I mean, I purposely don't go over ELDs. You know, I don't talk about, you know, certain things because it's not an evergreen topic. We'll talk about it in the Zoom calls, because then as things are changing and hours of service and so on are moving around depending on who's in charge of whatever. And, you know, we're not having to reshoot videos to make things legal, you know. The worst thing we could do is give somebody wrong information. You know, I don't want to do that. So we want to make sure that we're giving everybody up-to-date information that is useful and actionable.
It's perfect. And since you do have a brokerage, you're obviously booking a lot of carriers. Do you do some sort of carrier compliance? Do you have like a kind of like a metric system where you which carriers are good to go, which carriers are not good to go? Can you talk about that?
Absolutely. Yeah, not every carrier is qualified to work for 360 Freight Solutions. That is unfortunately a fact. There are certain metrics that we use to weed out people that are high probability of failure. So if you're conditionally rated, you're a hard no. It's not even a discussion. I don't care if you got a note from your mom or the president of the United States. I don't care. You're not working for us. There's plenty of loads out there. Find somebody else to do it. You're not doing it through us. There are some other metrics that we use. I mean, it's kind of proprietary, so I'm not going to talk a whole lot of in-depth about it, but certain states, we require you to have additional time periods of being in business rather than the customary 6 months, because it's easier to get an authority in some of these states. And unfortunately, there's a lot of fraud in those states. So we use that as a way of kind of pushing back against the probability of having an issue.
Okay. Which states are those? I'm really curious.
California, Nevada, New York, New Jersey, and Florida.
Okay. Those are the states with the most fraud, and it's easy to get authority?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, historically, if you look back, those are the danger zones.
Danger zones. What about Chicago?
You know what? I was wondering if you're going to bring that up. Surprisingly, Chicago's not. I mean, you got a lot of carriers in that area, and it's been my experience that the carriers are really pretty solid. You know, and we got carriers from all walks of life in that area, and it's such a melting pot anyway. You know, and we talked offline before that we're both, ironically, grew up in the same area and don't live anywhere near each other now. But, you know, I think we both had a lot of experiences in the transportation industry in the Chicagoland area that, you know, have probably formulated how we've built our businesses at this point, you know, moving forward. But no, as far as Illinois being a problem, it really isn't.
Okay.
No, it's just
somebody's got to be careful. But no, I totally understand. Definitely makes sense. I actually forgot to bring up the fact that we are both from Chicago. We grew up fairly close to each other, and here we are in different parts of the world. But yeah, we're still working in logistics, and that's what I love about logistics. Like, especially for the U.S. market, it's so international, and you can work from anywhere you want. Awesome. Jason, now to the topic of lanes. What are your favorite lanes to cover and your least favorite lanes to cover?
My favorite lanes to cover are the ones that are going to make us money. I don't care where we go.
Okay.
That's the truth, man. You know, really, the trick that's made me the most money is from a friend of mine who taught me how to be a broker. And Jeff told me, he says, look, what you want are two things, okay? You want to be a specialist in the lane that you do, and you want to find a customer that does it a lot. So, it doesn't matter what you're doing. I mean, for example, Chicago to Indianapolis. If you've got somebody that wants to do that 5 times a week, and you're going to make $150 a load, right? Let's just make this easier for everybody. You're making $100 a load. So that's $500 a week. At 60%, you're making what, $360 for the week off of that particular lane. Now, likely what you've done is you've created a situation where you've got 1 or 2 go-to guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
So these guys are constantly going back and forth, and they love this lane. That's all they do. So now you've put yourself in a position where you're doing this 5 times a week, if you're lucky, 10, and you're not even trying. You pick up the phone and go, hey, so-and-so. Yeah, I've got a few of these things. You want these? Great. Okay, you can do these ones? Cool. All right, awesome. Thanks. And you've just booked half your loads.
Yeah.
So that's really where the power in that type of setup comes in. That's really where I make my money, is I look for repetitious lanes, and I look for ones that I can make even a little money on, but a lot of times.
Okay. So do you post a lot of freight on DAT or truck stop, or are you mostly just, you have your lanes and you have your carriers already set up for them?
It's a fair question. Really, in the beginning, you start with that, a lot of online stuff. Really, it's a combination of things now. Our database is deep enough where we've got a fairly good group of people, and we can kind of predetermine who's going to do what. So, the honest truth is most freight doesn't actually hit the internet. It's mostly covered by all relationships that are pre-existing.
Yeah.
So when you see something out there, that means somebody's reaching out looking for a new relationship, or they're not happy with the one they have.
Mm-hmm.
And, we do go out on the boards. I'm not a huge fan of internet truck stop. I'm sure that's a no to say, but whatever. I don't have an affiliation with any particular company, but it's just been my experience that I just like the way the board's set up more. I mean, that's just how I like it.
Yeah, that's true.
We have access to both, and it's just preference, really.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, I like DAT a lot more than truck stop. Okay, then to go a little bit further in your future, do you have a 5-year, 10-year, 15-year plan of where you want to be?
Yeah, I kind of do. It's really more of a 1, 5, and 10. This year, really, what we're doing is we're intentionally going to be building a $6 million company. We've hit the ground running pretty hard, and the first 2 quarters have been pretty good to us. So I think we're going to finish strong and probably get real close to our goal, if not hit it. The 5-year goal, we're going to be at 100 million. And we've put some things in place, and we've aligned ourselves with some people, and we're intentionally going to be a $1 billion company in 10 years.
Okay. Is your plan to sell?
There's always going to be an offer on the table, and I won't say no to the right offer, but at some point, if we've done this right, I don't know that I would want to. I mean, businesses are really built to be sold most times, and in that, I just don't know what I'd do with myself after this.
Sure.
I think that's really the biggest question. I mean, yes, the answer is yes, I'd sell, but what would I do then? I'm not the kind of guy that sits around. I don't understand what retirement looks like. My wife's like, I want to live in Hawaii, and I want to have, let's live on the island of Maui and up country. And she's got it all painted out, right? And I'm like, that sounds boring. Like, what am I going to do then?
No, I agree.
There I am sitting in paradise, and I'm like, I'm bored. I don't want to do this.
Yeah. No, I totally understand. Do you have what is your plan to get to a $1 billion company? Do you have some technology behind it?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Can you talk about that, or are you trying to kind of?
I can give you some of it. We've got some products that we're lining up. I mean, the $1 billion reach is not necessarily just through one thing. The idea is that we're having multiple layers. So we've got some other things in the works as well. We've got some partnerships with some tech people that we're building out some different stuff. Got a little surprise coming. We'll see if it works out. It should be kind of interesting. And then also, It's basic math, really. It's been my experience that an agent of my caliber can do between $2 and $2.5 million in revenue comfortably per year. Okay. Let's use the 2 million mark. I only need 500 people like that to make $1 billion a year. And that's just revenue.
True. But how many?
So
you need 500 people like you, which is very difficult to get.
Well, that's what the school's designed to do, see? Paul, What we've done is we've created a situation where we're bringing the talent to us now. We're looking for the right people.
Sure.
You know, we're looking for the right attitudes. We'll train for success. We're looking for great people with great attitudes that want to build $1 billion company with us. They want to be part of something big. They want to be part of something that they can be proud of, that they know that they were a part of, and, you know, they're receiving adequate compensation from that too. I mean, don't get me wrong, Paul. These people are going to be very well paid. You know, when I was doing $2.5 million in revenue, I was making almost $200,000 a year in commissions.
Yeah.
And I mean, you know, it's basic math. You know, you just start looking at, okay, what are the percentages? What's the revenue look like? What's the profit look like? Okay, well, I want to make more money, so I have to either raise my profit or get more customers.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you do both. You know, COVID was a gift. I hate to say that, and as someone who's holding back coughs because I'm actually getting over it right now, but we never made more money in our lives. I mean, the company I was a president for in 2020 started off at we were at $15 million at the end of 19. Okay.
Huh?
By the time 20 ended, we were at 22 million. We had exploded because of it. We were uniquely situated. Sure. We were hauling nothing but food and cardboard boxes for Amazon. Okay. And that's all anybody did in 2020. I mean, that was it. So, I mean, we were locked into some really good rate structures. So it just really worked out well, you know, and we've been very fortunate to be able to continue that trend now that we've got some new relationships and some different things in place that, you know, we're real proud of what we're creating for 2021 too now.
Okay. And because of COVID, obviously a lot of companies are now doing work from home. Are you a proponent of work from home, or would you prefer to have everyone in the office?
Yeah, I'm on the fence about that. I mean, the work from home thing is great for people that can work from home. I'm fully capable of doing it. I've been doing it for the last 11 years. But really, I think that to adequately be trained, you do need to have some type of some actual office time. You know, people in the very beginning need to have this type of guidance. They need to be able to be trained and to be able to receive the type of feedback momentary, you know, as it's happening, not, you know, let's review, let's do this, let's do that. I mean, there is some of that you can do from a distance where you can role play and so on, but really I'd rather sit next to somebody, okay, make those calls, you know, and then we're going to go over it as you're making the calls. This is what we're doing. This is why you're doing what you're doing. He said this, maybe next time try this. You know, it's so much more powerful to be able to do that real time. And I can't do that a couple phones over. I just, you know, it's just not realistic. So as much as I don't like going into the office, I've resigned myself to the fact that I have to go into the office to build a big ass company. So.
Yeah, it's difficult from working from home. You really need the right person. There's a lot of people that just kind of lazy working from home. They need management.
You know, I came from a company that was a small family business when I first moved to Texas. And I worked for them for 5 years. And what I actually learned were all the things not to do from in home business. The TV was on, never turn the TV on. You know, it just the little things. You know, stay focused, create a regimen, make sure that you're getting up. Don't take naps. I mean, she'd like nod off at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm like, I'd turn around, like, what are you doing? Wake up. You know, I'm like, what is this?
Yeah.
It's crazy, you know? So, I mean, there were so many lessons I learned from that previous company of what not to do that I think it really set me on a course for success, whether I liked it or not. I just didn't realize what was happening at the time.
Okay. Awesome. And then lastly, Jason, what is some advice you'd give to someone who wants to open a freight brokerage?
I would expect anybody that wants to open a freight brokerage to actually be a freight broker first. You should go work for anybody else. Learn how to do this. Don't learn on everybody else's dime. It's hard enough to be a freight broker, and it's even harder to be an actual business owner. Don't do both at the same time. Learn how to do one before the other. Kind of crawl before you walk. I would absolutely encourage anybody that wants to do this to go out and get a book of business before they decide to open up a company. You need to have all those experiences before you step into the realm of actually owning a company, because you already kind of own a little company. So when you have this book of business and you're operating, you're doing all these things, you're making all the moves internally, and these are foundational pieces that will allow you to grow into that next step of owning your own company.
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
that's probably the best approach.
I definitely agree.
And that's what the school does.
Yeah.
We talked about it. We were like, hey, you know what? We can offer an entrepreneurial thing, but I'd rather do it down the line. I don't want to do it in the initial class because it's not fair to the student itself. I mean, I think you're giving people false hopes in a lot of ways. It's not 100%. A formula for success. Yeah. I want anybody that comes in contact with us to say, I received value from this. This was awesome. How do I do it? I want to do more. I want to be a big part of this. I'm hungry now. That's what I want. I mean, if I've got that, I've done my job. I've taught somebody how to be an animal.
No, it's definitely great advice. I actually had one of my followers, we talked about this last week, Jason, like one of my followers messaged me saying he's taking a course being a freight broker, and he's going to open up his own freight brokerage. I'm like, have you ever moved a load before? He's like, no, I haven't. I'm just, I want to open my own MC. I'm like, time to get a job at a brokerage first. It's crazy what some of these courses teach.
Well, and like I said, unfortunately, it's misguided information. And I think they have the best of intentions, but the problem is that you're just giving somebody too much. If you can just take, pieces of this thing, you can eat a whale if you do it one bite at a time, and nobody's saying don't do it. We're just saying, slow your roll here, man. Learn how to do this, build up a following, make some connections, make some network moves, and then look at what would it be to create a new company. And I'm going to tell you the one real problem I've ever had. I've opened 4 different companies in my lifetime. The one stumbling block I always have is that damn name. That's the hardest part, is figuring out a name. I don't know why. I've talked to many business owners, and we laugh about it. I'm like, of all the things we do, picking the damn name, really? That's the hardest part. But it is, man. I mean, like, think about how long did it come up with FreightCaviar? I mean, we talked about that, and
that was funny. That one, I used to be shipping pallets, and I had, I think, like 4,000 or 5,000 followers when I changed it, and most people were like, "Why are you changing your name? Your name was great, shipping pallets." And I'm like, my gut feeling's telling me I got to be FreightCaviar, and I love FreightCaviar. And so someone today told me that I have the best username on Instagram for freight. So it's nice.
Good. It really is.
Yeah, I like yours as well too. Yours is great. 360 Freight Solutions. It's nice and simple, but the logo's nice. It sounds good. BrokerzEdge too. I like it.
Thank you. Yeah, no, thank you. We you do what works. Sometimes a name is important, and it's important to have that correct branding. But really, I think what people remember the most is the service, and really what you're bringing to the table. Okay. This is just the sign on the door. At the end of the day, really what I want people to do is they know what they're getting when they call up and say, hey, 360 Freight Solutions, I need help. What can you do?
Mm-hmm. True.
That's where we're at.
Definitely. Well, Jason, real quick, just to finish off here, what are your 3 favorite cities in the United States?
My 3 favorite cities?
Yeah.
Geez. Any specific reason why they'd be my favorite? I mean, like I have favorites for different reasons.
Well, so you live in Dallas. Is Dallas?
Yeah. I love Dallas.
Okay. Did you move to Dallas because you just fell in love with the city and you're like, I need to live here?
No, truth be told, my wife was a customer of mine when I worked in Chicago at an air freight company. And I didn't know this, but my wife she was looking for, she was single at the time, and she was looking for a new customer service agent. So she talked to my boss and says, hey, I don't like the guy I'm working with. I want a new guy, preferably single. And so he goes, yeah, I can hook you up. I got this. So I didn't know I was being set up, but that's actually what happened. And I didn't find that out until after we had actually been married. I mean, I knew
Okay.
parts of the equation, but I didn't know that was the whole thing. No, when I first came down here to visit her, though, I was in awe. I was like, they're still building roads. I mean, the infrastructure is great out here, and I just fell in love with the area. I mean, I'm sure she had a lot to do with that, of course. I mean, you know how we are. But coming from Chicago, I was like, I was just so done with that time. I was 28 years old, and I had enough. There was nothing else I was going to get out of that area at the time.
Okay.
So, I mean, moving out here was the best thing I ever did, and I love this area. You know, I have an appreciation for New Orleans. We don't go there a lot, but it was a lot of fun when we went, and excuse me. And you know, a lot of memories were made only because it was just a very different place. You could do a lot of cool things there. Geez. Solid number 3, man, I don't know. She'd get mad at me if I didn't say Hawaii.
so somewhere in Hawaii.
We've had some good times there too. Yes, yeah, specifically Maui. Yeah, I mean, we've had good times there too. You know, that's the cool thing about the United States. I mean, there's so many cool places to go and so many different things to do. And I mean, I'm a food person, so I like going to these different places. And I'll try all the regional food. You know, when I travel for work, I want the local cuisine. They're like, oh, let's go here. I'm like, no, I can get that at home. Let's go here. Let's go to this place. That looks like a dive. I'm sure the food will be great. Let's check it out. You know, like that's me. I'm like the Anthony Bourdain of the United States. I just kind of go around trying new shit.
Perfect. I like that too. I do the same thing. That's awesome. Well, Jason, thank you so much for coming on today. Once again, this is Jason, the founder and CEO of BrokerzEdge and 360 Freight Solutions. And this podcast is brought to you by BrokerzEdge. BrokerzEdge is dedicated to teaching you the ins and outs of being a freight broker while unlocking your potential and being a key component in the logistics industry.